Hello, this is Morteza Kordi, and in this tutorial, let's change the background color of our relative layout. So inside this componentry section, just click on relative layout, and inside these attributes here, you can see that we have this icon, view all attributes, and view, again, if I click on it, you can see this list attributes. Let's click on view all attributes and search for the background attribute. So here, for this background attribute, you can see this ellipsis button. You can see this three dots button if I hover over this attribute. So just click on it. And here, this window is going to be opened. You can see we have some tabs. Click on color tab. And here we can select a color. So for example, we can click on color accent, right? If you want to, you can change the color here. Or here it says add new resource, right? Just click on it. And here, just click on new color value. And for example, we can select a new color here. We have red color, we have hollow red light. We can just choose this color and then click on OK. So now the background color is changed. So now let's add a linear layout horizontal into our relative layout. Inside this palette section, click on layouts and just click on linear layout horizontal and just drag it here into our relative layout. Okay, so let's put it here. And now just select this linear layout horizontal. Let's close this search. And for the layout width, let's assign the value wrap content to this. For the layout height, assign the value wrap content for this linear layout horizontal. Okay, now the layout width is match parent. So now let's add some buttons to our linear layout horizontal. Inside this palette section, click on all and add the button to our linear layout horizontal. So here we have this button. Let's change the text of this button to button 1 and then press on enter key on your keyboard. And here you can see that the layout width of our button is wrap content, right? But the layout weight is number 1. Just delete this number 1 and then press on enter key on your keyboard. So I'll talk more about this layout weight later. For now, let's just click on this view all attributes in order to see less attributes here. Let's add another button to our linear layout horizontal and below this button here inside this componentry section. So just select this button, change the text of this button to button 2 and delete the value of this layout weight actually. And here you can see that the layout width is wrap content. Let's add another button to this linear layout horizontal inside this linear layout horizontal. So you can see that these blue lines are actually guiding us that where we want to exactly put our button. So just put it here. And here select this button. For the text, choose a button of 3 and then press on enter key on your keyboard. And the layout weight should be nothing. So here you can see that we have these buttons, but these buttons are disorganized. I don't like how these buttons are actually organized. So in order to solve this problem, we need to imagine that this linear layout horizontal is actually divided into 3 parts. Because we have only 3 buttons, right? So we are going to imagine that our linear layout horizontal is divided into 3 parts. Each button should take 1 part, okay? The width of each button should take 1 part of this linear layout horizontal width. We don't want to do anything with the height because the height is wrap content, but we want to solve the problem of the width. So now here, what we are going to do, so just select, for example, these buttons. Hold down inside this componentry section. If you want to select all of these buttons, you can either hold down the shift key and select all of them, or you can just, if you are using a Mac, just hold down the command key on your keyboard and select each of these buttons. And if you are using Windows, hold down the control key on your keyboard and select each of these buttons. And here for the layout width, just assign the value 0 here, because we assumed that our linear layout horizontal is divided into three parts. The width of our linear layout horizontal is divided into 3 parts. And each button width should take 1 part. Each button width should take 1 part of our linear layout horizontal. So now we assigned the value 0 for the layout width of our buttons. Now we have this layout weight attribute. So I told you that we have 3 parts, so each button should take 1 part. And we assign the value number 1 for the button, for the layout weight of each button inside our linear layout horizontal. So just assign the value number 1 here, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So now you can see that our buttons are now completely organized inside our linear layout horizontal. So this is how you solve the problem of linear layouts in Android. Whether you want to specify the layout width or the layout height, this layout weight is very usable. Okay, so for example, I imagined that my layout, a linear layout horizontal, is divided into 3 parts, and I wanted that each button should take 1 part of the linear layout horizontal. So I assigned the value 0 to the layout width of each button, and I assigned the layout weight, the value number 1 for the layout weight of each button. So now you can see that our linear layout horizontal is actually divided into 3 parts, and each part is taken by each button here, right? So you'll learn more about this later, but here I just wanted to tell you that before we used percent. So we just said, for example, I said that assume that this linear layout horizontal or this linear layout vertical is, for example, the width or the height is, for example, 100%. And for example, we want our button or we want our text views to take, for example, 20%, or that button to take 25%. The percent is not used anymore in Android Studio, and it's gonna actually show you a compiler error if you use percent for the weight attribute of your, for example, button or your layouts. So for example, here we cannot say 50%. It's gonna, if you want to run your app, it's gonna actually show you a compiler error. For that, here it is the formula. If you are using a linear layout, for example, a horizontal linear layout or a vertical linear layout, just assume or imagine that that linear layout is actually divided into a number of parts. It doesn't really matter. It depends on your application and how many items you want to add into that specific linear layout. Just assume that it is divided into a number of parts, and for the layout width or the layout height of your, for example, specific items, just assign the value 0. Here, I just wanted to solve the problem of layout width. So I assigned the value 0 to the layout width of each button. And here, for example, here I wanted to, for example, my button, each button to take each part, to take 1 part. So I assigned the value number 1 for the layout weight of each button. So here, for example, you may say that I want to assume or imagine that my linear layout horizontal is divided into 10 parts, right? You can imagine that. You can imagine anything. So now I am going to imagine that my linear layout horizontal is divided into 10 parts. And one of my buttons, so for example, button number 3, I want this button to take 8 parts. So how we are going to solve this problem? So in order to solve this problem, so you said that we have button number 1, button 2, we have button 3. Button 3 should take 8 parts of the width of the linear layout horizontal. So in order to solve this problem, you just need to select the button 3. So the layout width should be 0 because here we want the button 3 to take 8 parts of the width of the linear layout horizontal. Okay, so that's why we assigned number 0 to the layout width. And for the layout weight, instead of number 1, we just assign the value number 8 and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So now you can see that this button 3 is taking 8 parts of the linear layout horizontal, right? So now somebody else says, okay, now I want to imagine that my linear layout to the width of my linear layout is actually divided into 20 parts. And I want my number 1 to take, for example, 10 parts. So here you can see that button number 3 is taking 8 parts of the 20 parts, right? And button number 2 is actually taking 1 part. So now there are actually 11 parts left. So we can now say that button number 1 can take 11 parts. And then press an enter key on your keyboard. So you can see that how these layouts change, right? We have number 1, button free. So you'll learn all about this later, but here I just wanted to actually let you know about the layout weight and how you are going to design your layouts later in this course, because we are going to create about 90 applications in this course. So it is necessary that you learn all about these attributes and how you are going to design your layouts in this course. So I think that's enough for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can run your application on the Android emulator. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions about these concepts that I've taught you so far, please post a discussion in the course, and then I do my best to answer all of your questions. And I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.